In this video, we will learn about non-contact forces. You must have remembered that we have discussed that on the basis of application of force, a force can be classified into two categories. The first category is of contact forces, which we have already discussed. The second category is of non-contact forces, which we are going to discuss today. So, in non-contact forces, unlike the contact forces, there is no physical contact, or these are the forces which are applied at a distance. So, what is a non-contact force? Non-contact force is a force which can act between two objects even without any physical contact between them. The examples of non-contact forces are gravitational force, electrostatic force, and magnetic force. So, let us discuss these forces one by one. The first type of non-contact force which we will be going to study is gravitational force. So, to understand this, let us consider two objects. The first object, we are going to name it as A. The second object, we are going to name it as B. A has mass m1, B has mass m2, and the distance between these two masses is smaller. So, any two objects which have mass and which is situated in the universe exert gravitational force on each other. And this gravitational force is always attractive in nature, and it does not depend on the nature of the medium between the objects. So, we have found two things to be important in this. The first thing is it is always attractive in nature. Gravitational force is always attractive in nature. The second thing which we found important is it does not depend on any medium. It does not depend on medium. So let us continue. The planets revolve around the sun on account of gravitational force of the sun. The sun constantly pulls the planets, due to which the planets revolve around the sun. The moon revolves around the earth due to this gravitational force. Objects which are situated on or near the surface of the earth experience a downward force due to a gravitational force of the earth. And this is why there is the weight of the object. The force of gravitation due to the earth is generally called the force of gravity. An object dropped from the top of a hill or a high tower falls freely towards the earth due to this force of gravity only. And we will discuss about this in the next section of this chapter. Gravitational force between two objects is found to be directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So, this is an important point. The gravitational force in this diagram, A has mass m1, B has mass m2, and the distance between them is smaller. So, the gravitational force is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the masses. So, let us now recap through these diagrams. There is a gravitational force between the sun and the earth, and this is why the earth revolves around the sun. In the second diagram, there is an object which is in free fall, and this is due to the force of gravity. And in the third diagram, there are two objects. The gravitational force is attractive in nature. It does not depend on the medium, and the force is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Second type of non-contact force which we are going to study is electrostatic force. You must have noticed when you rub a plastic cone to dry hair, it is able to attract pieces of straws or paper. So, this attraction is on the account of electrostatic force. So, what is electrostatic force? The force between two charged objects and the force between one charged and another uncharged object is termed as electrostatic force. So, let us consider two objects. The first object is Q1 and the second object is Q2, and the distance between these objects, let us say, is smaller. So, there will be a force of attraction or repulsion, and this force is what we call as electrostatic force. As there is no contact between these objects, electrostatic force is a non-contact force and it can be either attractive or repulsive. Like charged objects repel each other and unlike charged objects attract each other. Also, there is a relation, that is, the electrostatic force between two charges is directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. It is similar to the gravitational force. Moreover, the electrostatic force also depends on the nature of the medium between the charged objects. There is the difference between electrostatic force and gravitational force, that gravitational force does not depend on the medium, but electrostatic force depends on the nature of the medium between the charged objects. So this is an important point. Let me write it here. The force is directly proportional to the product of the charges on the object and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. It can be attractive as well as repulsive, and third is depends on medium. The third and the last type of non-contact force which we are going to study is magnetic force. So you must have seen a plate with magnets. For your reference, let me draw a bar magnet. So this is what a bar magnet looks like. One end is the north pole and the other end is the south pole. So a magnet is a substance which attracts pieces of iron, steel or other substances. So what is magnetic force? So a force which is exerted by a magnet and the force between two magnetic poles is called the magnetic force. Experimentally, it is found that like magnetic poles repel each other, but unlike magnetic poles attract each other. Also, like the other non-contact forces, the magnetic force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to their pole strengths and inversely proportional to their square of the distance between them. So now let us discuss the general characteristics of non-contact forces. The first characteristic is these forces have an ability to create a region around the given object in which its effect can be felt, and such a region is called a field. Thus, we can have a gravitational field around a mass, we can have an electrostatic field around a charged object, and we can also have a magnetic field around a magnet. The second characteristic is gravitational force is attractive, but electrostatic and magnetic forces can be either attractive or repulsive in nature. Moving on to the third characteristic, magnitude of these forces obeys inverse square law. This means that the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the objects. Moving on to the last characteristic, the presence of a material medium is not at all compulsory for non-contact forces to be effective. The non-contact forces may affect even through vacuum. I hope this topic is clear to you. Thank you.